The crystal chandeliers cast warm light across the elegant dining room of Le Chateau, one of Chicago's most exclusive restaurants. Every table was occupied by well-dressed couples, enjoying intimate conversations over wine and carefully plated courses that resembled edible art. At table 12, Daniel Crawford sat alone, checking his watch with growing resignation. At 37, the CEO of Crawford Technologies had agreed to this blind date only because his sister had been relentlessly insisting he needed to start dating again after his divorce 2 years ago. The woman was now 20 minutes late, and Daniel was beginning to think this was a sign he should just leave. Across the restaurant, Emma Walsh stood nervously in the entrance, scanning the room for her friend Rachel, who had invited her to celebrate Emma's new job. At 28, Emma had just accepted her first position as a social worker after years of graduate school and internships. Rachel had insisted on treating her to dinner at this fancy restaurant, though Emma felt uncomfortable in her simple white blouse and navy skirt among all the designer dresses. The host approached Emma. "May I help you find your table, miss?" "I'm meeting someone, but I don't see her yet," Emma replied, still scanning the room. "What name is the reservation under?" "Rachel Morrison, I think?" The host checked his list. "Ah, yes, table 12. Right this way." What the host didn't realize was that there were 2 reservations at table 12, one for Rachel Morrison at 8:30 and another for Daniel Crawford's blind date at 8 o'clock. In the confusion of the busy evening, he had just sent Emma to the wrong table at the wrong time. Emma approached table 12 where Daniel sat, assuming this must be Rachel's boyfriend or colleague who had arrived early. "Hi, I'm Emma. I'm so sorry I'm a bit late. The bus took forever." Daniel looked up, confused but intrigued. This woman looked nothing like the corporate lawyer his sister had described setting him up with, but perhaps his sister had gotten some details wrong. Emma seemed genuinely nice, if a bit flustered, and Daniel found himself not wanting to embarrass her by pointing out a potential mistake. "No problem at all," Daniel said, standing politely. "Please sit down." As Emma settled into her chair, she looked around the elegant restaurant with visible awe. Wow, Rachel really went all out. "This place is incredible. I've never been anywhere this fancy." Daniel was puzzled by the comment, but decided to go with it. "So, Emma, tell me about yourself." "Well, I just finished my MSW, Master of Social Work, and I got my first real job at a community center on the South Side. It's not glamorous work, but it's what I've always wanted to do. Help families navigate social services, connect kids with resources they need, that kind of thing." This definitely wasn't the corporate lawyer his sister had described, but Daniel found himself more interested in Emma's genuine passion than he had been about the blind date in the first place. "That sounds like meaningful work," Daniel said sincerely. "What drew you to social work?" As Emma talked about growing up in a neighborhood where she had seen how much difference a good social worker could make, Daniel found himself captivated. There was no pretense, no attempt to impress him with connections or credentials, just honest enthusiasm about helping people. Meanwhile, at the restaurant entrance, Daniel's actual blind date arrived and was shown to a different table where she sat waiting, while Rachel Morrison arrived and was told her friend was already seated at table 12. When Rachel approached the table and saw Emma sitting with a strange man, her confusion was immediate. "Emma? What are you doing here?" Emma looked up, equally confused. "Rachel, I'm at table 12 like the host said." "Who's this?" Rachel looked at Daniel. "I have no idea. I've never seen him before." Daniel's phone buzzed with a text from his sister. "Are you still at the restaurant?" "Your date says she's been waiting at table 9 for half an hour." The pieces fell into place for everyone simultaneously. Emma had been sent to the wrong table, and Daniel had assumed she was his blind date when she wasn't. Emma's face flushed with embarrassment. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I completely crashed your date. The host must have sent me to the wrong table." Daniel started to laugh, a genuine laugh that surprised even himself. "Actually, I thought you were my blind date. We've both been having a conversation under completely false pretenses." Rachel looked between them, seeing the humor in the situation. "So let me get this straight. Emma sat down at the wrong table. You thought she was your blind date, and you've just been having dinner together this whole time? Not quite dinner yet, Daniel admitted. We were just talking. But yes, that's essentially what happened. Emma stood up, mortified. I should go. Your actual date is waiting, and Rachel and I should move to our correct table. But Daniel surprised himself by saying, Actually, would you both like to join me? My blind date and I can reschedule, and honestly, this conversation has been more interesting than I expected tonight to be. Emma hesitated. That's really kind, but this is clearly a very expensive restaurant, and I can't afford— Please, as an apology for the confusion, consider it my treat. Daniel paused, then added honestly, and maybe we could exchange numbers. I'd like to continue this conversation sometime when neither of us is sitting at the wrong table. Rachel, who had a keen sense for these things, made an executive decision. Emma, I'm going to text my boyfriend to meet me at table 9 with Daniel's actual blind date. Let's let them salvage their evening while you and Daniel figure out this serendipitous situation. After Rachel left, Emma sat back down, this time with honest awareness of who Daniel was. I should probably know your name since we've been talking for 20 minutes and I still think you're Rachel's mysterious dinner companion. Daniel Crawford. And you're Emma Walsh, social worker who just landed her dream job. And you are, Emma prompted, realizing she still didn't know what he did. I run a software company. Nothing as meaningful as what you do, but it pays the bills. Over the next hour, they talked with unusual honesty about their lives. Daniel admitted that his divorce had left him cynical about dating, and that he had agreed to blind dates only to placate his worried sister. Emma shared that she had been so focused on finishing school and finding work that she hadn't dated in over a year. Can I ask you something? Emma said eventually. When you realized I wasn't your actual blind date, why didn't you just tell me? Honestly? Because you seemed genuinely nice and I didn't want to embarrass you. And then when you started talking about your work with such passion, I realized I was enjoying the conversation more than I had enjoyed any date in the past 2 years, even though I showed up in a 5-year-old blouse and took the bus while your actual date probably drove. Here in a luxury car? Daniel smiled. Especially because of that. You weren't trying to impress me or fit some image of who you thought I wanted you to be. You were just yourself. Emma appreciated his honesty but needed to be clear about something. Daniel, I think you're really nice, and this has been a lovely evening despite the confusion. But I need you to understand that my life is never going to be about expensive restaurants and luxury cars. I'm going to be working with families in crisis, bringing casework home, and living in a modest apartment because social work doesn't pay what technology does. What if I told you that sounds refreshing rather than disappointing? Daniel replied. My ex-wife was focused on status and appearances. It was exhausting. You seem focused on meaning and purpose. That's actually what I find attractive. They agreed to see each other again, this time intentionally rather than by seeding error. Their relationship developed slowly, with Emma maintaining clear boundaries about not letting Daniel's wealth change who she was or compromise her values. Daniel appreciated having someone in his life who challenged him to think about purpose beyond profit, and who genuinely didn't care about his money. 6 months later, Emma and Daniel still laughed about their wrong table meeting. Emma was thriving in her social work position, and Daniel had started a foundation that funded social services programs, inspired by Emma's passion for the work. They hadn't moved in together or gotten engaged. Both wanted to build their relationship on solid ground rather than rushing into anything. But they had built something genuine based on who they actually were rather than who they thought they should be. The poor girl, who sat down at the wrong table by mistake, had taught the CEO that the best relationships aren't about matching bank accounts or social status, but about genuine compatibility and shared values. And the CEO, who had been ready to give up on dating, had learned that sometimes the best things in life happen when plans go completely wrong. Thank you for listening to this story about how serendipity can lead to genuine connection when we're open to unexpected possibilities. If this tale reminded you that meaningful relationships are built on authentic compatibility rather than matching credentials or wealth, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in letting relationships develop naturally, and subscribe for more stories celebrating connections that don't follow predetermined plans. We'd love to hear in the comments about times when mistakes or accidents led to important relationships, or when letting go of expectations opened doors to something better. Remember, the best relationships often start when we stop trying to force outcomes and simply allow ourselves to connect authentically with people who share our values.